You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews, founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome to This Week in No Code plus AI. I'm your host, JJ Englert, and today's episode is extra special because Jacky, the co-founder and co-CEO of Relevance AI, is here with us. Fresh off a 24 million Series B to scale their AI workforce, Jacky will give us a live demo and share where collaborative agents are headed, so stay tuned for that. This is really good stuff. But before that, let's get into our news of the week. Agents are evolving from single-purpose bots into autonomous teammates that set sub-goals, self-correct, and work together in mesh networks. Memory-augmented agents can now learn your preferences over time, delivering hyper-personalized experiences. Also, Bolt's world's largest hackathon is now happening, and registrations are still open until June 30th. There's a $1 million prize pool, with $500,000 going to the grand prize, and anyone can participate. And also, anyone can build something with Bolt's platform where you just turn sentences into a complex application. And so it's a really cool, exciting opportunity for all builders around the world to participate. There's over 90,000 people currently in the contest, and judging will happen between July 7th and 22nd, and the winners will be announced on July 26th. And we will be having Eric on our podcast in the coming weeks to talk about this hackathon even more, so stay tuned for that episode. Also, if you haven't heard, Softr is getting ready to launch their native databases. Now, you can use these databases with Softr or externally with other systems, and it's generally going to make your Softr applications more than 10 times faster. Also, lay the groundwork for a lot of other things that you can do with Softr and other AI workflows, and generally make it easier to build full stack with Softr. A lot has changed, so if you haven't checked it out recently, go on over to softr.io and check it out. Also, Apple's liquid glass backlash has been huge. This week they had a WWDC conference, and their translucent UI for iOS 26 is drawing heavy criticism for readability issues. Plus, indie founder John Youngfook tweeted in a satire way that he was the designer and had been fired, and his joke racked up 5 million views and fooled real news outlets before he clarified the gag that he actually wasn't the designer. It's sad to see. Like, I don't want anyone taking the blame for this. Who knows if we just don't get the actual design system? Maybe it's a genius after all, but Apple, they're having a real tough time right now. Real tough time. But let's end it on a high note. Grab your coffee, turn up the volume, and let's dive into our conversation with Jacky about building autonomous teams and what this means for the future of work. So, Jacky, welcome to This Week in No Code plus AI.
So my name's Jacky Co. I'm one of the co-founders, co-CEO of Relevance. Bit about me, my background. Well, actually, I'll start from a bit longer ago, but I studied actuarial and maths during university. Have always really had a deep love for maths. And then after that, went into essentially machine learning. I've led machine learning teams. I've won machine learning slash data science awards. And probably more fun during that same time while studying, me and my co-founder, we've actually built multiple mobile apps to about 7.5 million users.
Wow.
Number one on the App Store, Play Store, etc. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
When you were studying math, what made you also want to just build these mobile apps? Was it just like, let's just have fun, let's solve this pain point? Like, what also led you in that direction?
It was just fun, honestly. To be honest, like even relevance, right? Like, and just for more context, relevance, we're the home of the workforce. We allow pretty much no code, low code builders of the world to essentially build sophisticated and customized their very own agents to essentially then start working with each other to automate really repetitive and manual tasks for the human workforce. Um, yeah, we're utilizing use cases like go-to-market, like back office tasks, sometimes
Customer
even
service.
finance, etc. Exactly. So pretty much everything besides code is really an area that we've really focused on. But yeah, code, there's a lot of different platforms for that. So yeah, but the reason why, we just always loved building stuff, even relevance. It started off with the context and really want to build something that helped people with automation. that was also why I really liked machine learning. So it wasn't really about anything else besides the love for building, really.
How did you guys come up with the idea? It was like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah, so we actually started about 4 to 5 years. I think
Okay,
now it's almost coming up to five. But we started 5 years ago. So the mission of the company has always been the same. We've always wanted to build a company that essentially brings machine learning and AI to the world to help people automate a lot of the boring and repetitive tasks that they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Um, Machine learning was good at that. It was able to, essentially help you build models that help you predict slash assess slash classify some of these things. And I really got to see that firsthand in a lot of my previous roles, and it just brought me a lot of great joy. So then, when it came to essentially, yeah, AI agents, when we saw that, that helped exemplify it even further. But we started off actually as a vector database company. So using vector embeddings, that specific technique in machine learning, and this was before it kind of became popular. We still own like vectordatabase.com, vectordb.com.
cool.
Yeah, that was able to, help you automate in the sense of finding lots of really complex information, utilizing vector embeddings plus traditional search. It's combined into hybrid search. You can find information very, very quickly, very, very easily, not just via keyword, but semantic as well. And then as we developed that for about 2.5 years, we saw agents, and we went all in on it. And we definitely went all in on it in a time where it wasn't obvious. A lot of people thought it was like FUD. A lot of people thought it was just demoware. A lot of people didn't see the potential of it, but we saw that, hey, LLMs were improving at a really rapid pace, which was really core to agents, and there was still a lot of missing pieces around it, both in terms of how to build agents for the less technical folks, but also how to essentially build production ready agents and building infra slash technology around it. So yeah.
How do you define AI agents versus AI automations?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question. So AI automation, um, you know, it's an evolution from traditional workflow automations. So, but even within that, it still requires a lot of if else condition statements. So, in an environment where you're able to specify all the conditions that require, it is really good. So, like let's say, for example, it's like a certain kind of automation that you want to do when this specific thing happens. Then yeah, it's really really good. It gives you a lot of control. It's really good at it's faster as well, and it's quite often cheaper. Um, but AI agents really really thrive on environments where the conditions are pretty much going to be endless slash infinite, and it's hard for you to gauge. So, for example, if you want an agent to essentially live handle customer support tickets, um, if you set the conditions of, hey, if the customer asks a question about login, then this is the kind of answer you give, or like all these like set scenarios. But the truth is, customers could ask anything. Like, they could ask like, "Hey, how's your weekend?" And if you have your condition base, you have to keep adding those conditions. Whereas a much more agentic base, you can add for those like edge cases or these conditions by just natural language. It's a lot easier to handle. In fact, agents even without much prompt can actually handle a lot of these long tail of different questions that come up. So it's really really good at that, and we're actually doubling down on a lot of efforts to really make that make agents be able to be deployed in those environments. We're talking about like voice calls, um, video agents, like live meetings, etc. So yeah, that's where agents really, really thrive. And it's very rare do you get a type of automation that without much work, like, tomorrow, all the big labs release some new models just with a click of a button, switch to a bigger, switch to the latest model. Your automation now works pretty much 10x better. So that's really the benefit of agentic automation. That being said, we've really seen like the the combination of the two can really really thrive. And we're actually making a lot of changes to our platform to make that even easier to build. So yeah.
That's awesome. When did you guys realize that like or find your product market fit? Like you kind of, 2 years ago went into AI agents. Did you find like success right away? Or is this just like you had to do some education about what you can actually do? How did that go for you?
Yeah. I think like the key thing for us was, yeah, like when we first launched, there was a lot of interest. I think what we really had to work on over the years is actually like turning that interest into, real users, real use cases, retention. And that's something we really, really focus on. Like our main like North Star is how can we help people build agents that are in production. And this is why, like, our platform is actually quite powerful. We have a lot of different advanced features to essentially allow you to set up agents that are really ready for production. So yeah, like that's always been like our goal is like, how can we help you build agents that go into production? So yeah, over time we've really done that, and yeah, how do we see product market fit was when we really saw that first agent because once you have an agent like really, really live, it's the ROI it brings is absolutely tremendous because it's pretty much able to replicate the work of like a human being. So, and it's really enjoyable for not just like you to see that, but also for the user, the person who either is utilizing the agent or built the agent because they don't have to do that really boring and manual and repetitive work anymore. Now they can actually enjoy the other parts of their job. And that's really, really great to see. We've seen, people being promoted thanks to that platform or thanks to the agents
Hmm.
that they built. And it's moments like those that we really saw, oh, okay, like we're onto something. There's real good product market fit here. I think there's endless chase there for it because the space is getting really heated. What users want is constantly evolving and adjusting, and expectations are increasing. So we are the type of company to keep innovating, keep bringing new things. Uh, we never really want to stop. So yeah.
Is there a use case that you really love right now for like an agent system that you've built or that you've seen a customer build or is like, man, that's smart and that's actually working really well that you could share with us?
Yeah. So um, there's the team-based use cases, but I'm a bit biased here because this agent really helps me personally. But my favorite use case, honestly, is to do with my calendar. So I have an agent that goes through my calendar pretty much like every 10 minutes or so to essentially see what's all the different events in my calendar. It does the classic thing of like, hey, if there's a online meeting, it will send a meeting agent to record it. It will remind me, like pretty much 10 minutes before it, hey, you have a meeting coming up. And those are both like Slack notifications. So before the meeting, I actually get a report on like, hey, this is, what you need to prepare about this meeting. This is who you're meeting with. Um, and then after the meeting as well, I get a summary of like, hey, this is what's happened in the meeting. So both of those things are really, really save a lot of my time. But that's like the classic, like, use case. And it's really, really customizable. I can customize down to the T what sort of like summary what I want, what kind of actionables I want, as well as it can be stored in like all sorts of different databases like Google Sheets, Notion, etc., where it's it has the nice interface. But then one other really really important thing that it does, and it's very minor, but it's like really important to me. But it's the fact that if I have a physical meeting, it will actually tell me based off where I normally am on that day, how far away it is. Like meaning like, oh, this physical meeting that you're attending, it's about 30 minutes away. And it will actually remind me of this meeting, like 45 minutes so that
Oh,
I get my
perfect.
ass like, out of there so that I can make sure I attend. Um,
Yeah.
but also it will actually send me both a Google Maps link and an Uber link. So I can just click the Uber link and then I can send myself up to get there on time. Um, and that has driven real ROI for me because I used to be late to physical meetings all the time. Now
Mhm.
I've rarely, rarely ever been late to physical.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Have you gone the next step of taking your call transcripts and putting those into like a vector database that you can then chat with it and some like chatbot functionality to recall any kind of meetings that you've, attended or had questions about yet?
We do that for our company-wide one. So we have a company-wide meeting agent that, and then this one's actually a workforce. So um, it's a meeting agent that sends all the meetings, and then depending on the department and people, then it goes off to individual agents because every department slash individual wants certain different kinds of summaries. So yeah, essentially when that agent happens, when it transcribes and records all the meetings and then gets transferred back, it actually stores it in a, essentially a vector searchable place so that
Yeah.
anyone can go in and find the necessary transfer. It also deals with like privacy as well. So like this is a really sensitive private meeting, then it won't record it. No, it won't record it. It won't store it in a public place, meaning our whole team can see. So
hmm Very cool. Very cool. You mentioned workforce. Can you maybe tell us, what that is for relevance and why that's so powerful?
yeah, and it's another area that agentic automation really, really is going to excel in slash like there's a real strong power to it. But one of the key things of multi-agent systems and aka like AI workforce is that it has a real compound effect. What do I mean by that? So that means like every time you build a new agent and more agents you add to an AI workforce, you not only enable new use cases, you can actually make existing use cases better. Just like how when you have like, let's say a team of two and you add someone quite different to you to the team, you are, compounding in terms of your team is getting better and better, right? Obviously at a certain point, there is a diminishing return, but that's like the key thing. And how does that look? Like, let's say you have starting off a content writer agent, so like an agent that's really, really good at writing content. You create content that's really, really amazing in terms of then, just for a separate reason, decided, our company has really needed a graphics designer agent now, especially with all the things going on with Flux, GPT, image generation. That's gone really, really good, right? Now you've created an amazing graphics designer agent. If you get that graphics designer agent, not only has it automated a lot of the graphics design work for you, but you can actually get it to work with the content writing agent to now create content that is not only great in text, but also great visually. Now, a third agent comes about. I really needed to automate a lot of data reporting. This agent is really, really good at researching and analyzing data. Now, not only have I, been able to automate a lot of the repetitive BI work, but now I can get this agent to work with that same content writer, that same graphic designer, and now my content is not only written well, it's not only visually pleasing, but it's also really backed by data and data driven report as well. So that's how it starts to compound. So therefore, the more agents you build, the more you can actually start putting them into essentially teams like within AI workforce to essentially have this compound effect. So yeah.
That's really cool. Do you think you can show us a little bit around the platform?
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, so essentially, like, actually, that's fine. But this is an agent that essentially looks in my calendar and goes into different types of events and does different things. So if it's a meeting outside of Relevance AI, meaning I'm meeting people outside of Relevance, it will actually do a research on the attendee and even give me like a preview report. So, in Slack, I received a notification of like, hey, for example, you're about to meet JJ. Like this is where they currently work. This is what they do, etc. This is some of the recent LinkedIn posts, so that I can come to a meeting really prepared. I don't know if you like, how much you dislike this, but I sometimes really dislike going into meetings and not knowing the person where they've where they've worked, etc. But this gives me that context that can be a lot more relevant to the conversation. Um, if it's a like a job interview, meaning like someone I'm interviewing someone, we look up in our Ashby, which is essentially is like an ATS of their candidate info
Hmm.
to get extensive context, etc. And then if it's a physical meeting, as I mentioned before, it will actually give me a Google Maps link, etc. And then afterwards, it will upload to Drive. But this is a really, really great use case. I pretty much get notified of like different kinds of I pretty much get a detailed report of like who this person is, what have they done, etc. I'll just show you an example of yourself, for example. So like before this meeting, I would get this Slack notification. Oh, sorry. Before this meeting, I would actually get a Slack notification that like, hey, you're meeting on Riverside. This is where you worked. This is what you've recently done.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And this is really like a much more summarized version. I can actually ask for more detail, like, I specifically want like where had they studied, or like
Yeah.
how long have they worked at their recent company. You can really go quite in depth. But yeah, I'll
The
show the rest
uh
of
the
that.
AI was very generous with my bio. I appreciate that. Also, for your interface, what I love about it is, and for our audio only visuals, it's a plain text interface using sentences added in with tools. So, like, if you're going to do this, then use the calendar event tool to do this. But it's not like tons of things all over. It's just you're writing sentences. You're talking to this agent, and you're giving it the tools you need with just inserting those tools. So it's a very easy way to communicate this in a natural approach, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%. It makes it so that it's very easy to adjust the rules. Like I have another agent that I can show real. I can give you a quick walkthrough of that. But you're absolutely right. Like if this was like a just an else kind of like setup, I would really need to essentially define a whole bunch of conditions. And then if the condition I need to change it, there's just a lot more work involved, especially the more downstream things that need to happen, the harder it is to change. But with agents, I can like just say, for example, this is an agent that actually books meetings on my behalf, meaning like
Yeah.
if I just CC it in, it will find the right time to me. And yeah, like I
So
have a
so it has
preference.
an email address, or did you create a new email address? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up a toss. But like yeah, it has my no, it has an email address. It's actually like Donna .p at Relevance AI. And whenever I CC it in, it will actually book a meeting on with that person. And it has all these kind of rules that I just specified in text. And based off this, it's able to suggest times to the other attendees, and then if they confirm, then it will essentially send a calendar invite. But like just using plain text, I can easily change it. Like let's say, for example, it says
Yeah.
it defaults to 6 weeks from now. I could say like 8 weeks from now. That's why I had to change.
So
Yeah,
I built a automation like this in NAN, and I love their platform, but it was a very complex automation that I had to put together in NAN to get something like this, where this is just plain text written out exactly how I want it. Here are the tools available. Bada bing, bada boom.
exactly. So yeah, it's definitely very maintainable, very adjustable, and with the click of a button, as the models get better, I can literally get something like 10x better
Yeah.
just thanks to model improvements as well. But yeah, this is how you kind of build agents. There's also tools. You can go into tools. Tools is actually very similar to traditional workflow automation, except slash AI like workflows. Um, but we've really much designed it for agents, as you can even see here via this tab. But like,
Hmm.
you can essentially build tools, customize tools specifically for agents. And if you have a group of tools, you can also treat it as an MCP to give an agent as well. But or even use it in an external system. But yeah, we also have a tool builder so that you can really get that end-to-end customization experience that you need for an agent. And the pattern that we really recommend is like build all these like modularized, sophisticated tools, and then you start giving it to different agents. So yeah,
You reuse them. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Um,
I also saw that you had variables in there. What are those in the context of relevance?
Oh yeah, so these are actually much more. It's soon for marketplace, but also like if you ever need to just quickly adjust certain things, I'll actually just show you. So let's say here instead of email, I decide oh, oh, variable. So I wanted to create a long text, and say this is it. Oh, right. So this email, um, instead of specify here like this, especially if I want to give this agent for others to clone and reuse as well, I can actually just create a variable. Now I can also inject it to essentially the prompt.
So for this example, it's your email, and that's a variable that the user of this agent could just insert their email, and that'd be inserted into the variable.
Exactly, exactly. So now when I variable more and more of the prompt slash more and more even of like, the different.
Becomes more reusable and friendly for sharing an external. Yeah, very cool.
Exactly, exactly. And also we have things like knowledge, which is much more for like, RAG. You
Hmm.
can add it as like a essentially a added into the context of the agent,
Yeah,
into the prompts, or you could add it as a tool that then does RAG as well. So yeah, there's a
very
whole bunch
cool.
of things
Could
like that.
you also have it like take the data ingested and then add it into the knowledge base for you, kind of thing, like as a tool? Do
Um,
you know what I mean?
yes. So you mean like a data source and then have that synced up?
Well, I'm saying like from like say you have a customer service agent and they had this long conversation with a solution, could you then take the results of that conversation and then add it to your knowledge source to like reflect on it for future agents kind of thing?
Oh, yes, yes. We actually are shipping a button within knowledge source for you to give the agents the ability to add back to that same knowledge
Yeah, that's
source.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's
very
actually a
cool.
really frequent pattern. So that's why we're actually just adding a single button so that it's easier to utilize because yeah, quite often, as you mentioned, customer support, you have like a FAQ table, and
Yep.
you want to not only just utilize that FAQ table to answer questions, but um, take that and then essentially extend it. So yeah.
Yeah, I love also that you have the import website. You could just throw a website in there and it, vectorize, go into the knowledge base. Super easy to add knowledge in that way, among the other options that you offer. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's generally it's not overwhelming in any way. Like I've used many different platforms. I feel like I within the first 10 minutes of using this platform, I knew right away how to build my agents, how to give it access to tools, and get started, which I thought was very friendly. And also, I love the agent email that you sent me. There was an email sent automatically that kind of did some research on me and made what an agent for me that I thought I would do well with, and just that really personalized welcome approach to the platform being delivered on behalf of an agent itself.
Yeah, definitely. No, appreciate that. And we're actually, we have a dedicated AI ops person that essentially builds out agents like that for essentially, yeah, life cycle to make it really feel personalized. And a lot more of that is coming quite soon as well. So yeah.
Very
Um,
cool. Workforce. Can you just show us a little bit about Workforce and how these agents can begin to work together to create your own teams?
yeah, sure. So workforce, and it looks like a canvas kind of like a style, but the main thing to really think about it is a way to create essentially your AI workforce, like a team of agents. Like and it really we really wanted to replicate the experience of essentially creating an org chart, where it's like, hey, these are my
Yeah,
different agents. This is how I want them to work. So, you can essentially, yeah, you have different. So like, let's say you wanted to start from like a Gmail, you wanted to start from like a manual message, etc. Um, you can have all these different triggers to essentially trigger the agent. And then you can, yeah,
can you have
essentially,
multiple triggers?
yes, you can. You can have multiple
Very cool.
triggers. You can have like,
Very cool.
and we're actually adding about 2000, actually, no, I think 900 triggers.
Wow.
Um, to
Very
essentially, yeah,
cool.
really bolster the number of triggers. But yeah, you can set up a trigger to an agent, and I actually just create some new agents in this case. So like you could say like this is a CEO agent, you are a CEO, and yeah, you can now start giving it more agents to work with. So we have this like AI connection, or if you want something a bit more deterministic, where it's actually taking the very last message of the previous agent and then sending it to the next one. Or you do this AI connection where it's like the agent decides when it needs to speak to someone, right?
Mm.
And yeah, you can give this instruction, and then now this is like a CMO agent. You
Hmm.
are a CMO. So yeah, you can pretty much create this org chart of different agents to then delegate tasks to, and then they'll start working with each other. So like let's say if I give a marketing task, the CEO agent is going to work with the CMO to essentially solve it. But if it's maybe like a much more technical task, I will have like a CTO. Actually, let's say CFO. Like if it's a finance task, then it will require essentially this finance agent as well to work with. But if it was like a marketing budget task, then it's both the CMO and the CFO. So then it'll work with both of them. So depending on the task, the first agent that you speak to, it will decide how it should start collaborating with the rest of the agent. And there's a whole lot of different like AI workforce structure and like org structure that you can really set up. We've only launched this feature recently, and we've seen some really really crazy workforce being built. Yeah, we're really looking forward to keep making this better, to keep making this much more powerful. A lot of the efforts actually gone into making essentially this AI connection
Hmm.
better and better, so that
I mean,
you know
that's a huge part. That handoff with the context needed is really important.
exactly. And this more AI based one as well. It's like when the CEO speaks to the CMO, the CMO can also speak back and give the CEO the information. So there's a lot of
Beautiful.
powerful things you can do, and we want to enable more and more essentially communication methods between the agents.
It's funny,
So
communication is still very important with agents, just like it is with people. You need to be a good communicator, and these agents need to be able to communicate clearly back and forth with each other.
exactly. So yeah, this is one. We have a ton of other stuff that we're really launching. So definitely, yeah, stay tuned for that. I think some launches people will really be surprised by as well.
What about human in the loop? So you have this multi-agent workforce, and then at any time, can you just say, "Hey, we needed to get a hold of someone here just to let us know to make this decision," and then come back to it? Is that possible yet?
Yes. So I actually can just quickly show you. Mm, so we have what we call escalations. I actually think we're renaming this tab to human in the loop.
Cool.
But
That makes sense.
you can, yeah, you can bring in human in the loop, and this can be via Slack or email
Okay.
notifications, or even if you wanted like certain tools to be auto run, requires approval, or even the
Mm,
agent thing,
smart.
whatever approves. So you just write a prompt and decide when it requires approval. Often use cases like, it should only require approval when it's like, during work hours, or if it's dealing with a certain prospect at a certain country. So that's where you can set it up as this tool requires approval. So like if I send an email, then it requires approval. Um, but yeah, you can also set up Slack notifications so that essentially whenever the task is like, running or when it requires approval, then it will send a Slack notification to say like, hey, this task is requiring approval. Do you approve? So I don't even have to go onto Relevance to approve it in that case. I can just
Yeah.
respond to the Slack message and get that going as well. And same
How
with
would you
email.
trigger this escalation? Can you do it within any kind of agent or workforce, or is there a specific way that you can only trigger these escalations?
You can, yeah, you can, once you set up the escalation. So like, let's say
Yeah.
here, but like, I wanted to set up this escalation. Um, Now you actually get an escalate to manager tool.
Mm.
This is when you can
So,
essentially
like,
specify
if
it.
this scenario presents itself, then escalate the manager kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. So then you can escalate. So like in this EA use case, I can say, Jacky has availability at all, then escalate manager, and then it will escalate to
Yeah.
the manager. So, yeah.
Very cool. And so easy. It just makes a lot of sense, right? Um, how much has your background as a top machine learning expert factored into what you've been able to build with this system.
Yeah, it really gives you a good insight into because there's a lot of updates in essentially the AI field, right? And it helps this what is current state of the art, what is possible, and also what is not possible but can be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like by really understanding how like LLMs work, it was pretty straightforward for us, I think, really saying like, hey, this is going to improve from now. The way they train these models, not only adding more compute, but also there's still a lot of things that they haven't optimized. So it's only going to get better from here. It just requires a few more epochs to really get better as well. So, like having that background in machine learning has definitely helped with that. And it also helps you identify, hey, where are the certain use cases where LLMs are actually not powerful enough. A good example is like if you're trying to analyze, like, let's say, uh, the amount of text that goes beyond the context of
Mm-hmm.
a LLM,
Yeah.
you actually start utilizing things like clustering. So clustering vector
Mm,
embeddings, to then feed into LLMs, batch it up into like different chunks, etc. So that's where machine learning has really helped us in identifying, hey, this use case, not something that pure LLMs can solve. And
yeah.
this is how we're going to go about solving it. And yeah, a lot of those actually do come up. Like there's a lot of these different use cases that you do require um, some of the more traditional LM techniques. I'm not LM techniques, machine learning techniques to really utilize to really get the best out of. So yeah.
As of today, Relevance is already a very powerful platform, but as a technical co-founder, how much power do you think there still is for you to unveil and explore in the next year or two with Relevance?
Oh, lots. There's to be honest, there's still lots. And it's on multiple sides. Like one of the really key sides is like for us to continue to innovate on our multi-agent system and like how agents communicate like that's single connection how the agents communicate with each other. There's so many ways we can actually introduce it and make that more and more different and more powerful. um and even just within how an agent runs, you more optionality. Like something that we're looking to ship is like, hey, when you run a tool, you might not actually want it to complete. You might not want to wait for it to complete. You might want to just complete and then go off and do it in the background. So like instead of waiting for the tool to complete and then the agent continues, it could just be like, hey, I've already sent the task like to execute this tool. I don't know if it's done
Mm,
yet, but I just care about like, this, just sending that signal off, for example.
hmm
So there's a lot of things like that to be done. There's a lot more work for us to work on to introduce it to more modalities, like video, like voice, etc. So yeah, just things like that. This this whole time, and we just really want to make it more and more powerful for our end users to build the AI workforce of their dreams. So yeah.
How big is your team currently?
So we're about 70 people.
You said
And
70?
yes.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and we this is what allows us to really ship a lot. We keep actually a fairly lean team on our go-to-market side because we just use as many agents as possible. And yeah, so like for example, we don't have any BDRs. So yeah, we have a fairly decent sized team, but they're mostly based in Sydney, and then some in San Francisco. So yeah.
You just opened your San Francisco office. Congrats. And then you also just raised a Series B. What do you plan to do with this money?
One a part of it is the expansion to the US. We
Mhm.
have a ton of customers in the US, and just being able to be as close as possible to customers, be able to listen to their stories, be able to work with them more closely is something that we really care about at Relevance. So investing a lot into that, and then just investing back into the community, like how can we make our partnership programs better? How can we introduce things like marketplace so that people can more easily share the agents that they've created? Um, that's what we're really investing into. So yeah.
Very cool. As we work to wrap up here, let's zoom out a little bit and talk about next couple of years. You know, with you being able to create agents and workforces of agents, you know, people, how do we find success going forward? There's a lot of skills that might be rendered not as important, and then there's a lot of skills that might be rendered as very important. What skills do you think humans can, you know, embrace, learn, and really, you know, take hold of in this next couple of years as we continue to work towards an AI-driven future, AI-powered future?
Yeah. Um, we're a bit biased here, but obviously, being able to build and maintain your own AI workforce is quite crucial. It means that you can really spend more and more time learning new things and finding and testing out new strategies rather than always having to spend time um, in some of the mundane execution of it. So that's really, really crucial. Like if you can pick up that skill, because you're going to be miles ahead of everyone in terms of productivity. Because when you build an AI agent, and set it off, that's that's a whole like essentially a task that you can have on autopilot being able to produce output for. So that's really, really powerful. And yeah, we definitely see a future where if you hop into Slack, you're not just talking to human coworkers, you're also talking to AI coworkers as well. But yeah, we're actually introducing we're launching something soon that really helps people build up all these skills. We call it essentially AI ops. But yeah, you can essentially build up all these skills that allows you to build and maintain your very own AI workforce. But yeah, I that's really where I see it. A lot of the much more um I guess business facing slash like functions like sales, etc. They're all going to require a level of AI ops to be really, really excellent at, because when you're at that stage, you can then just try out all the different strategies that you want to try, and you can really start to experiment a lot more. So yeah.
What might be a best practice that you can give to our users or listeners about building agents? Is it, you know, give them a good knowledge source? Is it being very specific? What might be a good way of thinking about, all right, I have this task that I need to build an agent for. What's the best way about going about building it, that agent?
Yeah, it's really a process of optimization. So to give you a bit more context, you'll be surprised how little information an agent actually requires to at least start. So a good example is like, and we try this a lot externally, but like, let's say you wanted a agent that goes through your Gmail, summarizes it, or like labels it, etc. It's like a very specific. You could get very, very specific. You actually can just give it a Gmail API call tool. So not even like send Gmail or like receive Gmail, etc. Literally just an API call, and you'll be surprised that with no prompt, just giving that tool, and then you giving instructions of the tasks you want to do on like the essentially the using side, uh, it will work. It will actually work.
Hmm.
And it's actually more extensive than if you have to provide like MCPs, etc., where it's predefined tools. Um, and then after you do that, the more you kind of see what is the exact workflow that you want for the agent to follow more closely on, you can then optimize the prompt, optimize the tools to essentially be much better at the specific use case. So it really is a process of optimization. Um, so yeah, the first go is really it's like first attempt. The more you kind of refine the prompt, the more and more it gets really, really powerful. So yeah.
Very cool. Jacky, it's been really great talking to you today. For our listeners that want to get involved and take more or learn more about your platform, get involved with it, where do they go to get started?
Yeah. Honestly, the community has built a lot of YouTube videos about how to use our platform. So I would strongly recommend those. But on our website, you can look at our documentation. We also have a academy, um, like I think relevantai.com/academy. Um, and yeah, we have a ton of resources on how to build agents there. So yeah, just honestly, look at our documentations, get some of our YouTube videos as well to help you get started. So,
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on This Week in No Code. It's been a pleasure having you.
thanks for having me.
That was a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed the platform. It has a mixture of the simplicity of Zapier, the power of NAN, and the multi-agent, the ability for them to work together, the context between that with the ability to go back and forth communication, the escalations, which are really easy human in the loops. There's so much to like about this platform. They got a lot of money in the bank. They got a big team. They're growing fast. Seems like a great platform to really learn and excel in and to start building your own AI workforce. So really happy to have had Jacky on the podcast this week to learn more about the platform. Really bullish on what they're going to do in the future. Otherwise, that's it for this week in No Code Plus AI. As mentioned before, we have some really exciting guests coming on, including the CEO of Bolt, Eric, to come on to talk about the hackathon, the product, and so much more. So, as always, stay tuned to This Week in No Code. Subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Leave us a review, share it on social. We would love for you to help us spread the word. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you later.